Despite what numerous news articles claim, 2017 was a great year for cinema, and as it comes to a close, I'm going to count down my top 5 favourite movies of this year. I was going to do 10, but I thought I would keep it focused on the main stars that left the biggest impact. So, number 5. Split. Yep, you might have forgotten, but this movie came out right back at the beginning of this year, and I was really surprised to find myself enjoying this one as much as I did. The real driving force behind this movie is watching James McAvoy portray all these different personalities. He convincingly acts like a kid, a woman, an obsessive-compulsive, a pervert, and an insane murderer. Without him, this movie wouldn't have worked. Anya Taylor-Joy also did a great job at playing the victim. You genuinely wanted to see her get out of this situation unharmed, and she also delivered some of the movie's stranger dialogue in a very natural manner. And that's not easy, so she gets extra points in my book. This movie is written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and although his stories can be interesting, I really cannot stand his directing style. The way the camera moves and the way he gets his actors to act is just too dull and unnatural to me. Split, however, is the first movie that felt like it had the absolute minimum amount of Shyamalan's directing traits, and I was intrigued and entertained pretty much from beginning to end, and it very smartly leaves it open for a sequel, which I am looking forward to seeing in 2019. My only real complaint is that there was a redundant exposition scene that talks about multiple personality disorder, and it really wasn't needed. But other than that, this movie was definitely intriguing, and on multiple viewings, it surprisingly gets better. Number 4. War for the Planet of the Apes. Talk about a great conclusion to a wonderfully set up story. When Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out, I don't think any of us thought that these movies would end up being at this level of quality, but War for the Planet of the Apes continued the success, and it was a blast. The movie was deep, offered great character development, and ended in a satisfying way. In my review of this movie, I said I didn't know exactly where I would place it in the trilogy, but after giving it plenty of time to rest and marinate in my mind, as much as I do love it, I personally would class it as the third best movie of the 3. And the only reason for this is rewatchability. I have seen Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes a handful of times, and I wouldn't mind sitting through them again. War, however, is a much heavier movie of the two, and as a result, it does make me feel less inclined to watch it again. It's one of those films I like to watch once, and then just let it have a permanent place to rest in my mind where I can remember it fondly, and then after a year or so watch it again. But that doesn't denounce the fact that it is definitely one of the best films of the year, and that's why it earns a spot on this list. Number 3. It. When I saw the marketing for this movie, I thought it was going to be a crappy cash grab with cheap scares. Little did I know that there was actually a lot of hard work and craft put into not only the production and the directing, but also the script. The movie was very well written, the pacing was energetic, the character interactions were a lot of fun, and the horror was very effective. One of my concerns was that this was going to feel very comparable to Stranger Things, with a bunch of kids grouping together to fend off an evil monster, but it wasn't. It felt very much like its own thing. The acting from these kids was also perfect. They did an absolutely tremendous job at realistically and convincingly acting out these various emotions. And of course, Bill Skarsgård did a phenomenal job as Pennywise. He was very intimidating, anger-inducing, and you really just wanted to beat the crap out of him throughout the movie. And to my surprise, they actually did beat the crap out of him in the end. It was so satisfying to see him get thrashed, and I was practically cheering. If you haven't already, then I would highly recommend that you check out my It vs. It versus video if you want to know in depth what I think of this film. The only thing I will add is that although the horror aspect was very strong during the first viewing, it does lose a big part of its impact during the second viewing. But overall, It was really good. This is the level of quality Stephen King book adaptations should strive to reach. If they do, then I will show up to watch every single one of them. Number 2. John Wick 2. For me, John Wick 2 was one of the biggest surprises of the year. I didn't go crazy for the first movie like other people did, but this is the one where I was blown away. The action was expertly staged and choreographed, the directing and cinematography was so artistic and beautifully crafted, and that elevates it above any other action movie I have seen. And all the while, the film ingeniously sets up a sequel and leaves you with a cliffhanger that is so good that it fills you with excitement and anticipation that I haven't felt since The Empire Strikes Back. Again, if you want to know my full thoughts on this movie, then check out my John Wick 1 vs John Wick 2 versus video, and you will see a detailed rundown of my thoughts. But without a doubt, this is some of the most fun I have ever had watching an action movie. Number 1. Logan. This is one of the few examples of how fantastic a movie can be if the studio influence is minimized or completely obliterated. Logan gave us the gory R-rated Wolverine that we have wanted to see for nearly 2 decades, and it wasn't mindless. It was incorporated into the story, and it actually felt relevant to the characters' arcs, making their actions carry a lot more weight than they did before. And that is perfectly illustrated by the fantastic performances. For a movie that essentially focuses on just 3 characters, this by far had the best performance out of all 9 X-Men movies, and it helped service a very depressing, emotional, and gritty story that puts these characters that we have grown up watching in a situation where they are so fragile and practically at the end of their ropes. What else can I say? Daphne Keane as X-23 was an amazing addition and instantly had great chemistry with Logan and Xavier. The action was great, the story, although light with regards to plot, was compensated with great concluding arcs for our main characters, all the while it gracefully leaves the story open for continuation without shoving in a bunch of unnecessary sequel baiting. And it ended with the best and most emotionally gripping shot out of pretty much any movie I have seen. The only complaints I have are that the villains are passable, and the climax fight, as good as it was, I have a lot of little tweaks and adjustments that I would make to it, but those are my only real complaints. Despite this coming out so early on in the year, this is by far the movie that I still remember 9 months later and will continue to remember, not only as one of the best movies of this year, but as one of the best comic book movies ever made. And that is why Logan is my #1 favourite film of 2017. So, that's my top 5 list of great movies I've seen this year. Do you agree with my list, or do you think I missed some other movies that deserve to be in the spotlight? Be sure to let me know. And also, tell me your own personal top 5 lists of 2017. I would really love to know. Thanks very much for watching my videos and for keeping up with my channel this past year, guys. I really appreciate it, and I value every single one of you. And here's hoping we have another really fun year with versus videos and reviews in 2018. As always, until then, I will catch all of you next time. Take care.